So, Shanti, welcome to those of you who are able to join us live, and also warm greetings to those of you joining later on through the YouTube video. My name is Shailen, and myself and my mother were students of the London Centre, and these are chit chats for BK students to go into the depth of certain topics that are raised in the Morally. Today, the main topic that I would like to take up is spiritual maturity. And I've selected a couple of morally and a morally extract that we'll read in a little while. But before we do that, I wonder if anyone here with me today would like to share anything, ask anything, pose any questions, or share any churning or insights that they have gained recently.
Shanti, I have a question. I need to get maybe your advice on it. Baba has said in his Murli, I think it was a Wednesday or Thursday, if you have a question or you have a doubt about anything, ask Baba. And I'm thinking you ask Baba, what happens? Because I remember when we were going to purchase this home, I said to Baba, Baba, I like this home. I would love to get this home, but I need you to let me know. I'm putting this to you. I just want to know whether it's a good home to go into, whether it's a good move to make, and I would meditate on it, go to sleep on it, and then I would say, send me some sign or some signal that it's good or not good, and I would know what to do, because this home, if I should purchase this home, it is your home, it is for your children, because I have BK brothers and sisters in transit going back and forth from Madhuban, from Trinidad, and they stay with me, and we needed a bigger home. So I say, Baba, this is your home. If I purchase it, it will be a home that your children will be coming to, or my brothers and sisters will be coming to. So, but I didn't get any indication that Baba was intervening. The thing is, I said, Baba, if you don't tell me anything, I'm going to purchase this home. If I don't hear from you, I'm going to purchase this home. And I didn't hear anything, and I said, okay, I believe it's going to be something good, so I'm going to get it. And I did get it. It's a beautiful place to be in. So I don't know how you get messages from Baba. I know sometimes it's through the Murli or sometimes through dreams, but I got nothing. So I was wondering, how do you get messages? How do you communicate when Baba is telling you, bring it to Baba, let Baba know, and Baba will guide you?
Well, sister, I think you've raised what will be a very popular topic among Brahmins. I think every Brahmin must be also wondering the way you're wondering. So I've got some ideas, but before I share, I wonder if anyone else in this call would like to share any of their insights and experiences. Nope. Okay, so I'll kick off. And we had the Murali a week yesterday on Baba not telling us in advance what's going to happen in the drama. Do you remember that point? That
Yes.
Yes. So we have this interesting dynamic of relating to a supreme soul who knows the three aspects of time, who can see things in advance, but is saying to us, I'm not necessarily going to tell you what's going to happen. He tells us long-term things. So we know the golden age is coming. We know, it's funnily enough, we have more details of what will happen in the copper age than will happen tomorrow, right? So that's the way Baba works with it. And I think there's this interesting game that Baba engages in, where on one side, we have to surrender our intellect, and on the other side, we have to empower our intellect. And Baba plays this game with us so that we are working in a partnership with him to achieve both. If we look at examples in the history of the Yagya, when Baba had decided that they were going to leave Karachi and come to India after the partition of India and Pakistan, I think Brahma Baba would have asked Shiv Baba, where should we go? What should we do? And instead of saying, like, go to this location, Shiv Baba said, send Didi Manmohini and Dada Vishwa Kishore to Didi's father and see from there what emerged. So then they did that. Didi went to meet her father, who had relocated to Mumbai. And he was a follower of a very famous guru in those days. He was a blind guru, but very well thought of. And he suggested that let's consult with this guru. And Didi went and explained to the guru what Baba's purposes were and his intentions. So this guru said, it sounds like Baba wants, the criteria Baba had given her was a place where we could have meditation, but also a place where the father and children could live together, because they were living the other side of the city in Karachi. So they would meet Baba occasionally. It's only really after they moved to Mount Abu that they were getting the Muralis daily with Shir Baba. Previously, Baba might write the Murali, send it across the city, and Mama would read the Murali to everyone. So Baba, this was the criteria. So the Guru said to Didi, it sounds like Baba wants a peaceful, spiritual place. Why don't you go and look at Mount Abu in Rajasthan? So then she went across and they explored, but again, they didn't really know where in Mount Abu. And it was actually the taxi driver who suggested that he's taken people up to the king, the old king, has one of the old residences, which is empty, derelict. His name was Bridge Koti. And so they went and looked, and it seemed quite good. It was quite small relative to what they had in Karachi. There were about 350 of them. But it was possible. And the only problem, so she telephoned Baba and said, there's snakes everywhere. And Baba's response was, well, Baba's come to remove the snakes from the whole world. It's no problem if we got a few snakes in a building like that. So there's, he doesn't give a clear answer. There's a process of discovery that occurred. Then Sister Genti shares that she had been sent back to London after she surrendered in 1969 to go back and live with her mother and try and get things going. And Daddy Ratan Mohini had come in 1971 and stayed for 1 year, I think. Still, things were not really going. And then there was, I think, Sister Mohini, Sister Nirmala, they'd stayed as well. Brother Ramesh had gone, but still things were not really moving. So then she managed to persuade Didi and Daddy that she'd always wanted Daddy Janki to come anyway. Daddy Janki was their center teacher in Pune. And they had agreed in 1974 that Daddy could go for 3 months. And Daddy's main trance messenger was Daddy Sheel Indra, who was based in Mumbai. And so there was the question that if they were going to start a center, up until then it was all in Sister Genti's family home, where should they go? And Daddy Shailendra was one of the main transmessengers. So Brahma Baba would also use her to take messages to Shiv Baba. So Daddy had a lot of faith and asked her to come to London, especially for this purpose. So when Daddy Shailendra was in London and they were going to offer Bhog, she said to Sister Jayanti, the problem I will have is if Baba tells me where you should start the center, I don't know London. So I won't actually know where he's meaning. So what they did, they actually offered a map of London in the Bhog tray, together with the Bhog, so that it would emerge in the subtle region. And Sister Jayanti was expecting, it was a detailed map, so she was expecting like Baba would return an address, basically, that they should go. And so then when Daddy Shil came down, she looked at the map and she said, Baba said, somewhere around there. And the Sister was so disappointed. She was expecting an address, and she got like, London is a huge city, and she got like an area, and they were not that, it wasn't that far from where they were living anyway, so it was somewhere around there. And then they just had to look themselves, and that's when they bought that, well, they rented initially the flat at Tennyson Road, and basically all of Baba's main centers in London have all been bought in that one area, that circle that Baba drew. All of the bhavans, all of them have then emerged. So I think that's just the way Baba does work with the children. To be honest, it's slightly non-specific. He might provide some guidance, but then he's saying, children, you've got to use your judgment here. You yourself have to think. You have to be a leader. Then I shared this in the week. I was tuning into Sister Vedanti's Bhog offering on Thursday at the Global Retreat Center. And then afterwards, she read Morally. And at the start of the Morally, she was sharing that when she was leaving India to go to Nairobi, it was in 1974. And it was nothing like now, where you could easily communicate. If you moved away from somewhere in 1974, you had no idea when you would see anyone again, or whether you could speak with them. And India was very backward in those days, actually, really difficult to even get answers. And as you all know from Baba's Moralies, Baba was expecting letters Tuesdays and Fridays, so he was writing hundreds of letters a day. So they really had an opportunity, especially in Brahma Baba's days, to have continuous communication, more specific guidance. Now she was going, as she would see it, like the other side of the world. And how would she be able to keep that connection? So she had met Baba personally before she was taking leave, and asked Baba this question. So Baba said to her that the way you get answers is you have to keep your mind, your consciousness very clear at Amrit Vela. So for some time at Amrit Vela, don't ask any questions. Just focus on concentration. Remove all thoughts from your consciousness. So she was saying she does this for a number of minutes, and only much later in Amrit Vela, when she feels that the line is very clear, then she poses the question. Then she sits again, keeping her mind open. And often she just gets like a feeling rather than an answer of what she's got to do. And she trusts that and acts, and she's found good results by doing that. And then The next element of this is something which came up in the Sunday Morley's in January of this year. I can't remember the date of the Morley, but I think we were going through the 1988 Morleys at that time, something like that, 88, 89. And Baba said that children have posed the question that when Brahma Baba was there, they could actually write to Baba and get a response. So what do we do now? And Baba said in that morally, good timing. Om Shanti Ambikavan, good to see you in the chat. Yeah, great you could join. Yeah.
I may not be able to be on. I'll take off the video. I have work when again this morning. So they now arrive. So I'll be in and out.
Yeah,
I
no
may not
problem.
be able to participate, but I'll
Good.
listen.
Yeah, good to have you here. So Lynette Ben was just asking about how we get the answers from Baba to our questions. So I've been running through a few examples. And this third bit is about this query. You might remember as well, Mbika Ben, that in January it came up in the Sunday morally that children asked, how do we get responses to our letters now that Brahma Baba is not around? And Baba said, you should still write to Baba. And then you put it in front of Baba and you listen out for your answer the next morning in the morally. You should consider every morally to be God's letter to you. And the answer will be there in the morally. So the way Baba is doing it in these ways. Lady Prakash Mani used to shoot. I remember I was in Madhuban when someone asked her that how does she take decision. As she said, she goes into Baba's room, looks into Baba's eyes, and asks a question, and she just gets the feeling Baba saying, do this, don't do that. That's it. And she said she has no more thoughts. And early days in the centre in London, Daddy, Sister Sudesh and Sister Jayanti were having a discussion as to whether to keep Brahma Baba's picture. Daddy Janki was very, very keen to have Brahma Baba's picture. One of the questions she had posed to Bab Dada in her personal meeting before she was taking leave to come to London, she said to Baba that if I go, I won't have a Baba's room like this in Madhuban. And she personally felt a great deal of benefit, great deal of importance of sitting in Baba's room. So Baba's answer was, you will get a Baba's room that's a replica of this one there. And so she very much was keen to have Brahma Baba's picture because it's there in that room in London. But both Sister Sudesh and Sister Jayanti felt that for Western audiences, it would be a negative image. And they would just see it as a guru. And they felt we should just have Shiv Baba's picture. And in those days, Sister Jayanti was she is a trance messenger, but she was going into trance regularly. So she took the question to Baba. And Baba's response was that in terms of giving vibration, whether Baba gives it through a physical body or whether he gives it through a picture, it's all the five elements. And so just as you sit and you conduct yoga and people get Baba's vibrations through your drishti, so can Baba not give vibrations through Brahma Baba's picture? And so that's when that started. That's why we have Brahma Baba's picture in Baba's rooms. So again, Lady Janki was very, very keen on this sitting in Baba's room. So for many years she was very proud that the replica of the light box picture that's in Baba's room in Madhuban, that picture was only allowed in London. Only London, Baba's room, and Madhuban Baba's room had that replica picture. I think now it's in many more places, but for many years, because Baba had said she would get that replica room. And as you all know, Ranjanben and I used to go for many Amrit Velas to her Bhavan and sit in that Baba's room. And I still, that energy still stays with me now of that Baba's room. I think it's helped me a lot. And evening yoga too. But Daddy used to spend a lot of time in Baba's room, a lot of time. So I think all of these are the ways that Baba's taking us more into subtlety now. So he's expecting us to develop our clear connection. He says in the Moralities that as your intellect becomes viceless, it will do the work of being a wireless. Then I'll just add in a couple of things which are my own experiences. So whether they're right or not, you'll have to just use your own judgment. I tend to trust drama as well in this. So I don't just see that Baba is my guide. Baba tells us at confluence age, drama is beneficial for the Brahmins. So there's, I don't know whether these types of classes come across in English so much, but in Hindi, there's often these classes about the mother and the father, and you get these moralities around who is the mother. Brahma is the mother, Saraswati is the mother, the Gita is the mother, and you can make a list. There's many mothers for the Brahmins. And Daddy Janki used to say, it's drama. Drama is your mother. Shiv Baba is your father. And so at this time, drama is nurturing the Brahmin. It's sometimes the mother needs to tell us off. So drama will tell us off, drama will guide us, drama will support us, drama will protect us, drama will nurture us. And where I've gone through patches where I've been upset with Baba, I've always trusted drama. So I used to always say to Ranjanben, I think I trust drama more than I trust Baba. And that I've always had that faith that I don't know whether my line is clear enough to be able to take the right decision or catch what Baba wants me to do. So I see whether it's happening in drama. And where things are happening like smoothly, it's like an indication for me that's right. Because drama is taking me in a direction. And then there is this element of yoga, the connection between yoga and drama. So now I do want to take this up properly 1 or 2 Saturdays, but there are these moralities around preparing the ground. And the drama is the ground in a sense. And different fruits, different plants and flowers emerge in our drama. And that's according to seeds we've planted previously. It's also according to the season. So one of the things we have to do as Brahmins is prepare the ground. Now, we can't always, as a gardener, as a farmer, you can't always control what fruit emerges. But your job is to prepare the ground. So through your yoga, every day, I was in front of Baba back in 2002, and he had said, He'd asked all the younger brothers to stand up, and what he had said to us was, every morning at Amrit Vela, sit for a few minutes to remove the obstacles from the yajna. And so it's something that has stayed with me. So even in my own personal life, that I have to, with yoga, remove obstacles, prepare the ground. You know, you can't just put seeds in the ground. The hard work is in the preparation. And Sister Mahini has shared how when she was in London in those days that I was mentioning, that period of like 71 to 74, not there were hardly any BKs coming. No one was coming to programs. So that they asked Daddy, you know, what should they do? And Daddy Janki said, right, we're going to prepare special bhog every day. And I want you to go and offer bhog into the Sato region every day. And I want you to keep knocking on Baba's door and keep reminding him, look, keep sending Brahmins. Keep. So Daddy's approach was that the offering of bhog is there's something about your invoking the elements. These are all, whether it's food, money, property, whatever, they're all the 5 elements. So as we're offering bhog, today Baba was talking about preparing food and Baba's remembering and the nurturing element of that. So Daddy said that we're going to offer the bhog, and then you keep bothering Baba, telling him every day, look, Baba, no one's coming. Come on. And it was like a preparing in advance of the atmosphere. So they had to do that over a period of time. It wasn't that just BK suddenly just came just because Daddies arrived. They had to prepare the ground very consciously through action and through yoga. And then the fruits have emerged over time. Sister Sudesh used to share that they used to have yoga bhattis in that first center that they lived in at Tennyson Road, and there would be about 4 BKs there in the gathering, and they're sitting there for 2 hours, and she's conducting meditation. So she would say that the BKs would get tired if she kept giving drishti to just each of them, like half an hour each. It would be too long. So the carpet that they had in Baba's room had flowers on it. So she used to give drishti to the flower on the carpet and imagine that that will become a living flower. A BK will come and sit there. And then gradually the class began to fill up, and there was a real living flower sitting there. So I think that there's this element of preparation that then influences the drama. But then you're also a little bit, you can't be so forceful in this process. You're sort of also observing the drama to see, where is the drama taking you? Is it taking you towards the right thing? And then just to complete, so I was doing all of that. This is back about 15 years ago. And I was looking for an apartment to move to. And I spotted one that was coming up at auction that looked like a nice apartment. But actually, I didn't have experience of bidding at auctions or doing these things. So I thought, okay, let me see how it goes. And the next day after the auction, I found that the apartment was still there. So I thought, okay, this might be, I've had the yoga, gone, seems right. It seemed like the right location for me. And I asked what it was, and it was still available on the reserve price, which is the bottom price that the seller will accept. And it turned out that the people bidding had stopped £1,000 short of that price. If they'd gone 1,000 more, they would have got the apartment at the bottom price. But I've always felt Baba and Drama just stopped them 1,000 short. So I could just go the next day and buy it at the bottom price. So I've seen those sorts of miracles. And then that one became the place of the daily class for that town, that apartment. So those are my experiences, that it is this combination of Baba guiding us and Baba empowering us. Do you want to come back with anything there, sister?
No, what you said, it's very enlightening, because I remember we saw a house before this one, a beautiful house too, 6 bedrooms, beautiful looking house, nice place and everything. Then I told my brothers, would you come and see the house before we make a decision? Because my husband had liked that house. And he said to me, Lynette, please, I'm begging you, do not buy that house. Do not buy that house. I'm begging you. It's not a good place. They had researched it. I didn't really research it. And it was a bad neighborhood. The house was beautiful and everything, but it was a bad neighborhood. So we ended up not very thankful that he came in and said that. But this one, and I said, I like this place. It's very beautiful. It's in a beautiful neighborhood. It's nice location and everything. And I got no feedback. So in my mind, Baba had said, okay, had approved it. So what you said is very enlightening, and a lot of points that you made, I will follow that. It gave me a lot to think about, and I appreciate that, and I'm thankful. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for raising the question. I think it's a question that many Brahmins will have, and it was very valuable. So would anyone else like to share their thoughts on that? Like, how do we know that this is the right decision to take? How do we know what Baba wants us to do? No? So does anyone have any questions before we read some bits of the Morally? And then I'm interested, after you've heard the Morally, on your reflections on those points in the Morally. Okay, so as you can see, Ranjan Ben's next to me, and we were having a little Morally class on Thursday, and this topic of spiritual maturity emerged from that discussion, and I thought it's a good one to think about, because we heard it again in yesterday's video, Morally, that I was saying, as you mature, you've got to really look after your thoughts and your time, as when we're younger in life as well, we're not thinking about those things. Younger people, they're not going to think about saving. They're not going to be so pragmatic. But of course, as we mature in life, we do think about those things more. And so within our spiritual journey as well, there has to be this journey to further maturity. And Baba has been talking to us last Sunday and also the Sunday before, but again in that video Morally, about carelessness, about this finding reasons why we can't do something, making excuses. Daddy Janki had given a lecture in just around the corner from Global Corporation House in London back in 1995. And one of the famous Hindu gurus had come to London, and he had done a week-long sermon. And on the Sunday, they'd invited religious leaders from different groups to come and speak. And Sunday, the final Sunday, is the big gathering. And they'd had a huge marquee in the park. And that guru was lecturing on the scripture, the Ramayana, which is the story of Ram and Ravan that you hear about in the Muralis. And I distinctly remember her explanation of the 10 heads of Ravan, because in the Murali, the way Baba puts it is that it's 5 vices within the male, 5 vices within the female, and that's again got a lot of depth to it. But the way she approached it in that lecture was that there are 5 big vices and there are 5 small vices. You all know the 5 big vices. But she said the 5 small vices are fear, laziness, carelessness, making excuses, and telling lies. So she said fear, laziness, carelessness, making excuses, and telling lies. And she said this is why Ravan has 10 heads, because sometimes we even conquer the 5 big vices, and actually the 5 small ones are the ones which trouble us a great deal. So in these last few couple of Sundays and yesterday, what's become apparent is Baba wants us to mature away from these 5 small vices, because our intellect has been used to making excuses, being defensive. In Bhakti, we tend to acquire knowledge to advise others rather than use ourselves. And I can remember where I've read Morally in some places many years back. I remember in both cases, one was where there was, she was a lovely sister, lovely mother, and she was very new. And it might have even been her first or second Morally that she's come to. And she said, it was such a wonderful Morally, such a wonderful class. I wish my husband was here because he really needed to hear this. And I remember thinking, well, Baba was speaking to you. In my mind, I was thinking that. But it's this habit. And then another Morally class, it was the other way around. The husband was there, and he said at the end, this was a wonderful Morally, wonderful class. My wife really should have been here. She really needed to listen to this Morally. And it's our habit in Bhakti that we acquire knowledge in order to advise others. We think others need this knowledge. But Baba was talking about introspection in this morning's Morning as well. And he was saying to us that you get this sort of dynamic, it was in last Sunday's Morning, that some children are very short-sighted, so they can't see near, but they've got excellent long vision. They can see from far away what others are doing and what they should do. Their vision is amazingly clear. But then actually what they need to do, they're not really examining themselves fully. And this is our habit of the Iron Age. And so the intellect can be very knowledgeful, but it's very, very subtly. So we can give wonderful classes. And Baba said today in the morning that, but you have to inculcate the virtues. You know, you have to be the one who's doing this. You can't just give good classes. So he's been observing that what our intellect does is that it gives us reasons why we can't do something. And his narrative last Sunday was, well, if you've made a promise to Baba, then you should just get it done. If you said you're going to change, change. And all it takes is fierce determination. This is what you're lacking. And what quells our determination is the way we think. if we do not think in the right way, we won't change. And Lady Genki used to say the difference between those who are going to become kings and those who are going to become subjects is the way they think. She said it's as simple as that. Just the way a king thinks is just different. And it's this continuous intellect, because it's lazy, can't be bothered, careless, afraid, or doesn't want to have to admit, as if I have to change, that means I was wrong previously. So sometimes we just don't even want to change, because then we're admitting something. We don't have the power to face ourselves sometimes. So we require, we've got this month, haven't we, of these points about the true heart, the clean heart, the transparent heart. And so it's part of maturity, because Baba said today that if you've got anything inside of you, it's going to come out. And so part of our immaturity in Brahman life could be that we've developed an external persona, but yet internally we're not facing and dealing and cleaning. But what matters is what's in the inside. That's got to be clean. The external persona is transitory, but it's the internal stage of the soul. That's what goes with us. That's the key. So part of our maturity is that. The other thing that I've observed in Baba's Muralis is that he takes up this desire for name, fame, and position more with more experienced Brahmins. And so he points out that actually, as we become more accomplished in knowledge and yoga and service, we can become more sensitive. And I can remember having a conversation with two sisters. One was on usher duty in the Diamond Hall in Shantiban before Baba was coming. And the other sister was on usher duty in the London Centre Hall before a class with Daddy. And they were both saying to me that the most stressful part of their service is seating senior sisters and brothers, because everyone just kept getting upset with them, that why did they not have a more prominency? Why were they one row behind and not in the first row ahead? Why was this sister sitting ahead of that? And it gave me an insight that actually you can become more sensitive. If we're not really checking ourselves, we can get carried away in pettiness, which is not important. And so we have to be careful that we don't get distracted by our accomplishments. And so our intellect loses its introspection in certain aspects. So the first extract that I'm going to ask Ranjan Ben to read is from, is it the 4th of December? Yeah. A short passage short to the garden. Is it there? This very clear. The page is with Baba talking to the daddy. Actually, I was thinking of the new one, somebody not right. And he had post, he gets the post. Yeah, it's wondering. Yeah. Just excuse me while I find this passage. And what was very fascinating about this passage was Baba was remembering Mama, and he's giving us this. He's giving us this. Okay, I have to struggle with finding it. So he's giving us this indication in this passage that there was a reason that Mama was able to do this much more quickly than even the daddies were able to do that. And so we'll try and get that. But this is a nice little passage that Baba's speaking to Daddy Prakashmani, which helps us understand maturity. So if you just read that passage to Daddy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Om Shanti, good morning to all. Bap Dada speaking to Dadiji. You are a carefree emperor, aren't you? The father is also bound according to his promise. This is why everything is okay and everything will remain okay. There will be complications yet. There will be something good in the complications also. The world is like an ocean, and the steamer the ship of Brahmins is moving through that world. It is going beyond. So now and again, there will be high waves and waves from the opposite direction. Even when they do come, you still have to reach your destination. It is fixed. In between the waves will show their own games. You are observing the games, but seated on the seat of a detached observer. You do not observe the games, considering them to be real situations. When you observe the games as a detached observer, you remain safe and also enjoy yourself. However, if you get involved in them and consider them to be real situations, then you will become trapped in the whole group. Then it will be difficult to extricate yourself from them. You judge rightly and so change the curtain. The wrong has to be finished for all time, and the right has to move forward. However, if you change the curtain, that same curtain should not come up again. If you get involved in situations, it then takes many months to overcome them. Now you have to become even more powerful in discriminating and resolving problems. Since service is increasing, the situations will also increase. Many think that this never used to happen before and wonder why it is happening now. But time moves forward and your stage of effort keeps on changing. Therefore, continue to observe the games as a detached observer. Apply a full stop and move forward systematically. Just continue to do this, but you are carefree anyway. Okay, that is.
So Baba's giving her that guidance for leadership there. And you can see the guidance there about observation, about understanding how times change, situations change, and not to hang on to the past even, that, oh, it used to work previously, used to be okay previously. How come this is happening now? But it's understanding that actually these things are all part of change. Change will happen as things grow as well. There will be more and more to deal with. And so this spiritual maturity, and he started off by saying you are a carefree emperor as well, which was the heading of yesterday's video morally. So he was expecting Lady Prakashmani to remain in that sort of carefree stage while responsibilities were growing a great deal. This morally that we're going to read is from the 23rd of May 1983. And at the end of the Bapdada season, they used to have, and they still do, I think, have at that time, the meeting of all of the Didis and Dadas from around India. And in those days, in 83, a lot of the Dadis from Karachi were still around, and the Dadas. And so Baba always refers to them as the original jewels of establishment. Then the current Didis that we have nowadays, a lot of them were the early students of the center as they were established in India. And Baba is commenting in this morally how both sets, they've got their own specialities. The Dadis didn't have anything in front of them, nothing was set up. They just saw Baba, and on seeing Baba, they surrendered. There was like a touching in their intellect. And the Didis, they saw the Dadis. And there was something about seeing the Dadis that inspired them to then surrender. The Baba's talking to both of them. And his big narrative running through this morally is that spiritual maturity is linked with becoming unlimited. As long as we latch on to any type of limited thinking and feeling, that's like childishness. And so Baba is saying to us that children, you now have to all grow up. So he was saying this to them 40 years ago. We now have to provide that for Brahmins to come, right? So Baba is going to expect all of us to grow up and be examples of that unlimited stage for all the Brahmins to come. We can't carry on with limited thinking and feeling and pettiness. It must be that unlimited stage that Bapdada has. No, you read.
Om Shanti. This is the Murli of 23rd May 1983. 23/05/1983. Om Shanti. Bapdada says, let go and you will become free. Today, Bapdada was seeing his cooperative children who have become instruments for the beginning of his task of establishment. He was very pleased on seeing the fortune of all the cooperative children. He was seeing the plan of establishment. He was seeing the history and geography of the beginning period of the world of elevated Brahmins. He was seeing which elevated souls are accurately cooperating at each of the places and at which time. What did he see? he saw three types of cooperative children. The first type are those who, on seeing the alokik task of Bapdada, on seeing his attractive image and spiritual face, who saw the effort of doing everything without thinking about anything. On seeing all these things, the sanskars of the awareness of the previous cycle were immediately revealed. Within a second, it emerged in their heart. This is my same Baba. In this way, without any effort, you easily became merged in the Father's love and became cooperative. You didn't even have to do the 7 days course, but with the force of God's love, the meeting between the Father and the children took place. With just one word, you became life companions. You children said, you alone are mine. And the Father said, you alone are mine. There was no question of effort. Those who made this deal of a second without effort became merged in love. The second type are those who made a deal on seeing the sample of the renunciation, tapasya, and service of the elevated instrument souls. The first group saw the Father. The second group saw the sample of the Ganges of knowledge. They easily came to know the Father with the power of their intellect and became cooperative. Nevertheless, the second group also came into a physical relationship with the Father through the children. They attained the incorporeal one in all relationships in the corporeal form. This is why, because of having all experiences through the corporeal one, they receive the gift of a lift of corporeal sustenance. Only a handful out of multi-billions and a few out of that handful attain this fortune. This group of original souls who accepted the gift of a lift and who became instruments in the task of establishment and in the field of service have been called by invitation. In fact, there are also other children who are instruments, but only a few have been specially invited. Do you know why you have been invited? The foundation is checked every now and then. If the foundation is even slightly weak, that has an effect on everyone. In the field of service, jewels like you are foundation, the instruments in service. The first group became the foundation for establishment of the yajna. They became instruments for service. However, the first visible fruit of that service is this group of yours. So you elevated souls became instruments as the visible fruit of service, or the first showpiece in the showcase. Do you know your importance to this extent? You original elevated souls haven't become hidden in the sparkle, beauty, zeal, and enthusiasm of the expansion of the new leaves, have you? So Baba is talking about tree here, you know, the leaves means the other religions and teachers and other sects, the children, and they come. So here Baba means that
And in the Brahmin tree.
tree, yeah.
These are the foundations for the Brahmin.
The original elevated souls haven't become hidden in the sparkle, beauty, zeal, and enthusiasm of the expansion of the new leaves, have you? Whilst making those who are at the back move forward, you yourselves haven't gone to the back, have you? In fact, even Bap Dada places his children in front of him. However, whilst placing them in the front, he himself doesn't go back. Some children cleverly answer Baba by saying that they are giving a chance to those who have come later. You may give others a chance, but at least still remain a chancellor. Do you consider yourselves to be responsible to this extent? Whatever steps of effort you take, others who see you will do the same with such zeal and enthusiasm. Do you constantly have this awareness? The new ones are new, but the old ones have their own value. So many medicines can be made from old leaves. Do you know this? Old things have so much value. Old things become special memorials. Special museums are built of old things. Knowing the value of old ones, are you taking every step according to that value? Do you consider yourself to be such an invaluable jewel? Are you a flying bird, the same as the Father? Are you giving a return of the sustenance you received from Father Brahma? This physical sustenance is no ordinary sustenance. The return of this invaluable sustenance is to become invaluable and to make others invaluable. The return of special sustenance is to have every step of life filled with speciality. Are you giving such a return? Throughout the whole cycle, you received this sustenance once, and you special souls have a right to that. Do you know about these rights? Do you know about these rights of yours? So Baba says that we have a right to ask help, sustenance from the seniors. So, are you giving such a return of special sustenance is to have every step of life filled with speciality? So Baba is asking. And then throughout the whole cycle, you receive this sustenance once again, and you special souls have a right for that. Do you know how? Do you know about these rights of yours? So today, Baba has come to meet such fortunate children. Do you understand why you have been invited? Baba will, of course, look at the result. Will he not? Because you have seen Father Brahma with your physical eyes. This whole group is of those who follow Father Brahma at every step. Is it not? You haven't just seen him with divine vision. It is easy to follow something you have seen with your own eyes. You are souls who have the right to make easy effort. Do you understand who you are? Do you know who am I? You firmly remember the riddle of who am I? Do you not? You don't forget it, do you? On seeing this group of Barbara and Daddies were having a conversation in the subtle region. Do you know what they were talking about? They were seeing how much you know the value of your fortune and also how much you remain an embodiment of this awareness. An embodiment of awareness is an embodiment of power. So they were watching to see to what extent you have become an embodiment of power. Are you not going up and coming down the ladder of forgetfulness?
To the maturity.
Uh-huh.
We don't come up and down. Baba said this morning, didn't he, that when you're soul conscious, you don't fall.
Yeah.
When you have that interest, introversion.
Uh-huh. An embodiment of awareness is an embodiment of power. So they were watching to see to what extent you have become an embodiment of power. Are you going up and coming down the ladder of forgetfulness and remembrance? Or are you going into the flying stage through your form of constant awareness? It isn't that the old ones are still moving along according to the old methods, is it? So that even now, instead of being in the flying stage, you continue to go up and come down the ladder. Baba was seeing the method of all the children. Out of love for the children, Father Brahma said, the basis of easy and elevated attainment is to be constantly equal to me, the Father, at every step. And constantly remember one thing in your life is a lucky charm from Father Brahma. And that is, you will become free if you let go. Whether it is in terms of forgetting the consciousness of the body and becoming soul conscious, whether it is in terms of being a conqueror of attachment, in terms of attachment to relations, whether it is in terms of the success in the field of spiritual service or in terms of the connections with others in relation to nature and sanskars, in everything. If you let go, you will become free. This hand of the consciousness of mind makes you hold onto the branch and makes you into a bird clutching onto the branch. What would you become if you let go of the hands of the consciousness of mind? So Baba says, what would you become if you let go of the hands of the consciousness of mind? Flying birds. Then Baba said, flying birds. Don't feel compelled. I have to let go. I have to become this. But O elevated souls who are images of support, celebrate the ceremony of having already become. It shouldn't be, I am thinking about it. I will make plans. Have you thought about what ceremony you are going to celebrate? Every group celebrates a function, does it not? What ceremony will all of you celebrate? Baba is asking, which celebration do you have?
So when we have this spiritual childishness, then that inclination is to hold on to things. And so very, very subtly inside of us, we don't really want to let go of our old sanskar. We might not have the courage to be someone different to the way we've been. And so Baba is saying that whatever that's relating to, you got to just let go. And it could be ways of thinking, could be feelings, could be memories, could be attitudes, could be vision, could be regrets, could be guilt, could be anything. But childishness is linked with stubbornness, and maturity is linked with adaptability, flexibility, being able to mold and let go.
Okay. All of you are Brahma's companion, children who follow Father Brahma. Are you not? You are the mature souls of God's family. Bap Dada and the family constantly have their vision on you and see you as the form of their original samples. You are the lamps of all the Father's hopes for the whole family. So, what ceremony will you celebrate? So, Baba is asking us. So, you have become equal to the Father, Baba says. You have become souls who are liberated in life. You have become conquerors of attachment and embodiments of remembrance and therefore embodiments of power. As soon as you had the thought, you became this. Now celebrate such a powerful ceremony. You are ready, are you not? Or are you still thinking, I should do this? It shouldn't be should do, but we are the original samples who fulfill all the Father's desires. Such victorious jewels with faith in the intellect should celebrate the ceremony of victory. Do you understand? Why you have been invited? This is now clear, isn't it? Crown all of them, make them celebrate the coronation of taking on responsibility. This is why you have come, is it not? You are not saying anything. Have you become old? What did you see, Father Brahma? Is one moment he was old and mature, and the next moment he was a little child You saw this, did you not? Follow the Father. Become a little child in saying Haji, and become old and mature in service. So become a little child in saying Haji and become old and mature in service. You saw the splendor of the little children, did you not? They say it with so much pleasure, Haji, Jiha. You special souls have come here by special invitation and now specially celebrate. You special souls have come here by special invitation. Now specially celebrate once again the ceremony of taking on the responsibility of service. In between, every now and then, you remove the crown. Now put it on so tightly that you don't take it off. Okay, we shall hear the result of the ceremony at some other time. Acha, to those who are instruments for all souls and give zeal and enthusiasm, to those who constantly make others into intense effort makers, so Baba is giving us the blessings or remembrance. So Baba is saying, to those who constantly make others into intense effort makers through their every step of effort, to those who let go of waste in 1 second and thereby become free by letting go, to those who constantly follow Father Brahma, to the original jewel in service to the special souls who have the fortune of sustenance. Bap Dada's love, remembrance, namaste.
And I'd given Ranjan Ben the wrong date previously, so we are going to now hear that section, which is from the 7th of November 1995. And Baba is commenting on how Mama became karmatic so quickly, and all of us need to follow Mama. She began when she was 17 years old, and by the age of 46 had become karmatic. And it's taken the daddies much longer than that, even though they all came at the same time. So Baba is giving us an indication that it's linked with this spiritual maturity. And Mama just stood out because of that maturity from the start. And he's observing that quality in Daddy Prakashvani, but also Daddy Ishu, who was Brahma Baba's secretary and then carried on to be Daddy Prakashvani's secretary.
Baba is speaking to daddies. Look, the love in everyone for you, original jewels, as well as their pure attachment for you is increasing. So here Baba used the word pure attachment. When they see that the original jewels are all right, they all become all right. Everyone's pure attachment for you has increased. Bap Dada is very happy with these two daddies. Means in bracket it says Dadi Chandramani and Dadi Ratan Mohini. You know the Dadi who is still in Madhuban. You probably saw her yesterday and from time to time. Nowadays she's in a wheelchair, but she was still look very young and very active, Daddy. So Bap Dada is very happy with these two. That is Daddy Chandramani and Daddy Ratan Mohini. The responsibility for Gyan Sarovar is not a responsibility, but it is a game. Is there any heaviness? After all, what is a game? So Baba is saying, after all, what is a game? A game is something very light, is it not? So what is responsibility? Just a game. So Bap Dada is very happy that you have been cooperative at the right time and you have been cooperative from the beginning. So both the daddies were with Baba from the beginning, you know. Even Daddy Ratan Mohini was about 11 or 12 years old when her mother brought her and surrendered her. So that's why Baba is saying they both became cooperative from the beginning.
Gyan Sarovar was opened on 18th January 1995. So we're hearing this morally about 10 months after that.
From the beginning, you always said, Haji, this is the special blessing that you had from Sakar Baba. Brahma Baba never used to like the word no. You all know this and you have experienced it also. Now, Baba is speaking to Ishu Dadi.
Just to comment on that, what I was saying earlier about how our intellect works, it finds a reason not to do something. And Brahma Baba's attitude was that everything is possible. He was not interested in any reason or excuses. So the daddies, they had to adjust themselves as they came into relationship with Brahma Baba. But he was an achiever. He did it with his business as well. He built something from scratch, and he brought that attitude to Baba's task, that everything should be done, and it should be done now, and it should be done precisely. Everything is possible. So Lady Janki was like that. She also took that nature from him, I think.
So Baba is speaking to Ishu Dadi. So you explained it, who she is, and then I think she left Puri after Dadi Gulzar left, a year after Dadi Gulzar became Abhyakt. So Dadi Janki in March 2020. Then was it February? I think in Dadi Gulzar in February. Okay, something in 2021.
Yeah,
March. And after that, Ishu Dadi, who used to help Baba, she was 7 years old, and her younger sister, Lachu Dadi, she was Brahma Baba's Brahmini, looking after Brahma Baba, but then you might have seen her on the stage. She always brought the bhog whenever Bap Dada came in the meeting, and she was so. And so, speaking to Ishu Dadi, this one has played a very good part from the beginning until now. She is your special cooperative soul. She is very good in listening to other people about anything and in relating anything herself, because she always remains very mature. The virtue of maturity enables you to move forward a great deal. If you let something out, you may think that you have done well in doing so. But in fact, you have halved its benefit. You have halved its fruit. and only accumulated half the benefit. Those who are very mature accumulate fully. And she kept everything very confidential. That's why Baba says she never let anybody secret anything out. You know. So
And also, like any feedback, be careful. We've got to be careful of giving feedback about anything, commenting on anything. Sometimes we want to show our cleverness. We want to show that we are wise, we are discerning, we can see, people can't fool us, we know what's going on. But Baba's saying, should we be doing that? Or should we just merge everything?
we have Charuben here as an
So
example.
Baba's putting Mama in front of us, and he should. He's moving on to Mama.
So Baba says, then the loss, if you don't keep this confession, you still see the benefit. But those who are very mature accumulate fully. It is said Mother Jagdamba remained very mature. Even if she did less service than all of you are doing a lot of service. But the virtue of maturity enabled Jagdamba to accumulate in her account fully. She did not lose any of it. Many people do a lot, but they lose half or 3/4 of the benefit from it. You do something, but when something happens, you either lose all its benefit, or if something minor happens, you lose 3/4 of the benefit from it. In the same way, if you speak about something of your own self, you lose half the benefit. So what remains? So since the speciality of Jagdamba is to accumulate in the account by being a goddess of maturity, in the same way, all of you should be very mature. Whether you are living in Madhuban or in your center, Bap Dada is telling everyone to accumulate your marks through maturity, because by speaking about anything, you finish off all the benefit, no matter whether you are speaking of something good or bad. And today Sakar Muli was about that as well, isn't it? Not to waste your time like that, not to,
And it's good and bad. So we've had that in a few of the Thursday board messages as well. We can get carried away with ourselves, and we are sharing. Oh, there was great service. We did this service. It was really wonderful. And underneath that sharing is self-praise, or there's some self-attention that we want. So Baba's saying you lose half of your benefit. Probably most of the time, we share good things about ourselves, and we talk about weaknesses or others. So we've got to have a look at that. Another sanskar can be, sometimes we can be so used to sharing problems that we develop this habit of just sharing problems with everyone. And particularly if you look in the Lokik world, people tend to talk to each other about problems. So we could have those sanskars as well. So Baba's saying that, is that really helping you to do that? And we know the answer, and we can then say to Baba, I've got a problem, I don't know what to do. But we hear the Morley every day, so we know what to do. But Baba's saying, where's your maturity here? What should you be doing?
And now Baba says, if you speak of something good, that is arrogance. And if you speak of something bad, whom are you insulting? Each one should be visible as a god or goddess of maturity. There is a great need for maturity at present. What happens is that you give lectures and so you have developed the habit of speaking a great deal. So you would speak whatever enters your mind. However, the impact you create through maturity cannot be created through words. Now, Bap Dada was presented with a bouquet of flowers. What is this bouquet? Since each of you is a spiritual rose, the most loved of all, Baba inaugurated a cassette of the new songs prepared by Brother Om Vyas. You know, we just had the cassettes in those days. So it is good that you have become an instrument. Drama has made you an instrument. And to become an instrument is a sign of fortune. You are creating your own fortune and will continue to create it. Acha, Om Shanti.
So, I'm interested to hear from any of you that are here live. Would you like to share your reflections on those Murlis or Murli extracts?
Shanti.
Sure.
I was listening very, very closely to these movies, and they have so much power in them. To say, we talk about stuff and we don't understand the impact on what we talk about, how it will be taken by another one, good or bad. So we have to let others just see through our actions. Beautiful. And the Baba is saying, maturity is so important. It helps us to move along in a more advanced way. And another point I was going to say, I just skipped my mind. But the maturity portion of it it's a great lesson this morning to understand the arrogance that comes with even if you do something good and you speak about it. So I was very appreciative of that. And that's what I took with how you handle your day-to-day life. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Thank you. Yes, I had forgotten this title, The Gods and Goddesses of Maturity. So it was good. You said the impact you can have through that is much greater and different to that of the impact through words.
And also, this is what I was going to say, the fortune of where we are and who we are, the chosen ones, for us the chosen ones, the impact that we have on the lives of our own families and the lives of those around us, and how to handle it in different situations. That's what I took as well. Shanti.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you. Would anyone else like to come in?
Shanti, from the bits of what I heard, in the first excerpt, this letting go. What is true freedom? And I think most of us, especially young, when you're young, want freedom. But what is really the freedom that we have? And it's the freedom from all these things of the past, or all our thinking, or all our habits. And it's what really keeps us back. Is thinking, always thinking, and believing that when I'm able to be free is because I can do what I want. But true freedom is to be free from all the pulls, all the things that bind us, whether it's relationships, material things, our profession, possessions, wanting fame, recognition, all these things. And it's really being, to be free is really to be up above, always up above. And what that allows us to do is to be able to see, Baba often talks about being on the rails of the drama and seeing, being in the drama, but beyond the drama. So freedom is what will really allow us in that sense, not being attached even to the drama, and to what it is I believe that I even want for the future. The aim is there, but you know, when I came to Baba, all I wanted was, okay, and as was said in the Murli, you know, that anytime this phrase comes in and it really goes into my heart when Baba says, I am yours and you are mine. And this sense of really having this love. And for me, sometimes I feel that is all, that allows you to become free from all the other pulls that exist. So that freedom, because I'm thinking again, freedom has always been something for me, where independence, I've always felt that I was independent and that was freedom, but it isn't really true freedom, you know, to be able, and then this set of thinking, you know, putting this full stop, because we think, sometimes we go through thinking on a situation and whatever has happened, putting this full stop out of waste and coming back always to this awareness of, I was saying, who am I? Who am I? Keeping this constant awareness, so that really that we don't need any outside praise, recognition, defamation, nothing should be able to affect us. And another point is, I always a few things early in coming to Baba's knowledge with in the Murlis was this phrase of equanimity. And if I have this feeling or being, once I have this thing of equanimity, whatever is happening, there's no pull. There's no pull, whether in praise or defamation, because I have to I recognize that who I am. So it doesn't really matter. It's not that you go out there for praise or you go out there and don't care whether people defame. But to put full stop to all that comes in front of you. And the aim is, who am I? I am Baba's, Baba is mine, and where I want to be. And not even focusing too much even into the future, but being what is required of me now, being in the present, and the dharana that Baba gives us every day to help us to inculcate this knowledge that the dharana, our daily life, is a reflection of what Baba wants us to be. And I think I don't have to worry about my future in that case. You know, I treat it in the present. And one of the things struck with me when you said it also last week, brother, is that I need to leave clean. You know, I need to leave clean. And this is something that I am also looking at within myself. Not to create anything more, whether positive or negative, that you pull people through, or you have people with distaste, but to be able to be clean without any expectation from anyone, good or bad, but full stop, knowing that who I am, who Baba tells me I am, and more than that is having the faith in who I am. Baba said that to me, and I could say, yes, Baba, that is why. But do I have that deep internal faith that Baba said, this is who I am, with the utmost humility, no ego. This is who I am. And once I can keep that awareness, it makes it easier for me in my daily interactions. Om Shanti.
Shanti, thank you. Thank you. Nicely put. Would anyone else like to come in and share something? Benjamin, do you want to share anything? So I think this is been a good topic. So we've had two very good topics. How do we know we're taking the correct decision? But also then, what is spiritual maturity? And for many years, I used to see Daddy Gulzar and wonder why she doesn't say more. Like she's observing everything. She can see that things are not as how they should be in certain cases, or people are doing things what they shouldn't be doing. And I just never saw her say anything. And I think when I was younger, I was expecting she should be saying, why doesn't she just tell them what they should be doing? And then now you hear Baba's morally and you think, okay, because I think Daddy Gulzar reminds me most of what Mama would be like. And so, it's this really powerful, how do these souls accumulate fully? I thought that was very profound what Baba was saying, that for many Brahmins, we do a lot. And then actually when Baba looks in our account, we've lost half of it. We've lost 3/4. I mean, that's tragic, isn't it? So, and it was such a powerful line where Baba said, Mama didn't lose anything in any action. So from the moment she came, she never lost anything that she accumulated. And so it makes sense why she became Karmatik so quickly. So one of the things which Brother Karuna was saying in his class, Brother Karuna has been with Baba since about 1960, I think. And Mama was opening the centers and sustaining the Brahmins in the south of India. Brahma Baba never traveled that far south. His age was already much more advanced. And so Mama was doing most of the traveling across India. And so he is one of the brothers that emerged in southern India. So their connection was always initially with Mama, but then they would go to Madhuban 3 or 4 times in a year and meet Baba. And what he was saying was, whenever he arrived in Madhuban, he'd first go and talk with Mama and share what was going on, what the news was. And then, according to what she said he should share with Baba, he shared that with Baba. And it reminded me that Mama had this role of being the filter for Baba, between the children and Baba as well. And one thing Mama, so extending this whole commentary on maturity, Mama also didn't want Brahmins to look bad in front of Baba. So our habit could be that, Baba, let me tell you about these Brahmins. You should hear what they're doing. And by going to Mama first, actually she's going to say, but she wouldn't want those Brahmins lowered in Baba's vision, you see. So she would say, okay, right, we'll deal with them. We'll talk with them. In front of Baba, you just share these. And so this was part of Mama's role as well. And I've heard Baba comment in Murali that, even when he would talk to Mama about situations, Mama would very royally in a few words just point out that, this is the positive that she sees in that Brahmin. Just very, very, very few words, even with Baba, not really wanting to extend anything about anyone or expand anything about anyone. And it was just the way that she was, about merging everything for everyone, about everyone, and being that filter. And Baba's saying that with us, whatever comes in our mind, we speak it. We haven't even got a filter within ourselves, never mind the filter for everyone else. But Mama, being very, very measured, that equals I think is like this as well, that being very, very measured within themselves. Ishu Daddy, Baba mentioned, she was like this. She reminded me a lot of Daddy Gulzar in those qualities. That just what needs to be said, what needs to be listened to, and then what needs to be shared with Baba as well. They have this strength about them that I think we can take from. Just going, you want to say something? Just going to read some chat. So thank you. Yeah, thank you, Sister Laura. So she's sharing that in the Brahmin blog, there's a nice phrase: to deal with attachment, attach yourself to God and remain attached. I think that sums it up. Does it sums up Raju? Anyone like to make any final comment?
Shanti, another point that Brahma Baba brought up is that there is always a way to get done rather than making excuse. Focus on how it can be done. And he was never who will give up, and always a person who will never say no. And I like that quality about anybody. I feel I have that quality too. But the fact is that never look for excuses. Always look for a way to get something done. And he brought that up nicely, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, Sister Mahini shares a story that she was new in Baba's knowledge in the 1960s, and she was in Madhuban for a bit. And she was in the middle of doing some karma yoga task, and she got the message from a sister that Baba's calling you. So she thought she'll quickly finish the task and go. And she went 10 minutes later, and Baba just looked at her and said, "What are you doing here?" And Baba, I heard that you called me. That was 10 minutes ago. It's gone now, it's done. I asked someone else. And she learned a lesson that when God calls you, you say yes, and you say now. And there's something that I used to hear as a child, because Ranjan Ben used to read to me before sleeping the comic book story of Brahma Baba's life. And I'm sure most of you have seen it. And there's a time when Brahma Baba's grandchild was having his first birthday, I think, something like that. And Brahma Baba had, this is before knowledge, when he was Dada Legraj. So he'd organized quite a big celebration. And he got a telegram from his guru, who was in Mumbai, to come. He wants to meet him. And he just said, "Okay, I've got to go. My guru's called me. I've got to go now. Must be something important." And everyone's saying, "You've got this big function coming on. You can't go now. You can't just leave." And the phrase that's in that comic book is, the guru's call is the same as the call of death. You can't say no, and you can't say later. And so he had this sanskar from his time of bhakti. And so when Shri Baba came, of course, we got the Satguru. So he used this sanskar with Shri Baba, that Shri Baba said, this has to be done, it has to be done. And so Bab Dada, both of them, then had this attitude with the deity. So this is what Baba was referring to in the morally, that you could not say no. Another time we'll do a more full section on Dada Visharathan. His anniversary comes up in March. And he was the brother who initially drew the pictures of the cycle and the tree. And he shares in his story that Baba, he didn't even have any equipment or anything. And Baba said he wants 12 feet by 10 feet pictures, and he wants 6 of them painted within 4 days. Just do it. And Baba just, he didn't even have anything. So he went to Mama. But you couldn't say no to Baba. So he just said, "Okay, Baba," not knowing how this could be done. And so then they went to Mama to say, and as soon as a child came looking at Mama, she could almost tell from their face that they'd been given an impossible task by Baba. So Mama would say, "Okay, tell me, what did Baba ask you to do and what do you need?" And so then Mama organized an entire bungalow, an entire small area to be dedicated to painting. And he needed I think, 12 assistants. He said that if he asked them, they'll just not say no. So he said, Mama, can you ask them? So then Mama gathered the daddies and got 12 assistants, and they worked 24 hours a day. Says that because everyone knew if Baba's asked you to do something, it has to be done. But our sanskars might be that we sort of do it all very gradually, bit of convenience, bit of that. And so we got to think about that in terms of our relationship with Baba. Well, thank you all very much. I think we've had another really delightful conversation. So thank you to those of you that could be here with us live. We always enjoy meeting you, and thank you for your contributions today. And also warm greetings to many of you who tune in later on through the YouTube video. We also think of all of you. So have a great week. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Thank
Om
you.
Shanti.
Om Shanti.